Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me in my next episode of Learning from Experts. And I'm your host, Eugene Piddleman, local Brooklyn real estate agent. And today I have a very, very special guest, Jeffrey Green. He's a real estate agent in Westchester, New York. And not only he is extremely good professional, he's really good at explaining things as well. And I invited him today because a lot of people I talk to either want to move to Westchester already, they already know where to move, or they not decided, but still want to leave approximately, I would say, 1 hour around in Manhattan. So Jeffrey, he serves Westchester, which is exactly approximately 1 hour north of Grand Central. And today I asked him to share with us whatever he knows about the market, and I'll ask him a few questions. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Certainly, my pleasure. So could you first introduce yourself and share with us what do you do? What's your expertise? What
Oh, sure.
is it that you do?
Absolutely. I think you nailed it with what you said. I service clients, buyers and sellers selling basically single family detached homes. Just think of a white picket fence, and golden retriever or whatever, and about 1 hour north of the city. So almost all of the towns I service a lot of it are commuter towns, very desirable school districts, and mostly on the Hudson line, which is the commuter line that runs up right along the Hudson River, and the
Mhm.
Harlem line, which is the one that kind of cuts right through Westchester. And I service basically Scarsdale up to the top of the county. I
I
don't
got you.
necessarily handle Yonkers, some of the down county stuff, but
Mhm.
yeah, and a lot of my clients are people looking to transition out of New York, sell their house. I mean, I have a lot of listings on that side, and mostly, like we talked about, Eugene, in the past, a
Mhm.
lot of the buyers that are, especially the first time buyers or first time single family home buyers, are
Mhm.
mostly from the five boroughs. So
I
a lot of
see.
our clients are coming up from Queens,
Mhm.
and Brooklyn and Manhattan as well.
I see. Okay, I got you. Thank you. So, listen, I think the first question I would like to ask you, what would you say the main difference, what to expect for our sellers from five boroughs who used to our market to our how things going here when they about to move to your area? What is the first couple of things that comes to mind?
Um, I think if you own in Manhattan, especially if you own in a co-op or a condo building, you're used to that long timeline, that 6 month, from accepted offer, board packages, and having to have, basically give the seller you know, your entire biography and every last, asset statement.
Yeah.
A big difference I think in the suburbs is that the process does go much faster,
Mhm.
and if you're finance approved, if you have a pre-approval, there's really no one that can tell you no, you can't buy this house. So
Mhm.
sellers, they're not they're not doing financial character analysis. Like if you have a pre-approval and the bank says you can get a loan, and the seller's happy with your price, a deal is going to get done. And you can also put much less down in most cases. You don't have these requirements of 20%
Mhm.
down. So I think for when I first bought up here, having been a real estate agent in the city for quite some time, I was like, wow, really anyone, if they can get pre-approved for a loan, can
Mhm.
buy a house as long as they have the money for the down payments. And
Wow.
I think that's a big shift. And that also segues into,
Mhm.
we were talking about this, in the green room before, Eugene, in Manhattan, there's always that rental backup. That's
Uh-huh.
like, I don't know what the percentage is officially, but if you do you rent, do you buy? There's nice rental buildings that are just as nice as the buildings you could buy in. It's
Mhm.
really not like that up here. If you want a roof over your head, chances are you're either scrambling to find a unicorn rental
Mhm.
or you're doing some sort of purchase. And the
Right.
single family home is obviously the most of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of the biggest difference is really the amount of money down and how not simple, but how just transactional it is between you and the seller, and that's it.
I
There's
got
no
you.
board involved, and that's a big deal, in my opinion.
I got you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Look, I would say let's talk about the market in as much detail as our format would allow us. I would
Sure.
say if you can share with us the standards, what's happening with the prices. Is there any bidding wars? Approximately, is it actually a good time to buy today? I mean, obviously we're right now in a holiday season, right? So is there any differences over there? Or maybe because it's 2023, 2023 is like no other years. And
Sure.
obviously the question that everybody's asking, has the drop in rates affect your market? Do you already feel it?
Yeah, why don't we start with the rates? Because what I've noticed, um, so when you think about 1 hour north of Manhattan, um, you'd be surprised. The buyers out there generally have the assets that the interest rates are actually not going to affect that much. Meaning that yes, okay, their monthly went from 5,000, principal, interest, mortgage payment, all that, to 7,000, but it doesn't make them incapable of buying a house for 1.2 million. Do you know what I mean? Now, not in this area, not in the areas that I serve. Maybe another hour north after that, maybe that's a little more blue collar, a little bit, a little bit more, tighter budgets when it comes to how much they can afford monthly. There was an effect, but Middle Westchester specifically never felt the effect of the interest rates going up. So
Oh,
my point is
really?
with the interest rates going down is just adding fuel to an already low inventory, very seller leveraged market. So I mean, look, interest rates going down is good for everybody. It's good for
Of course.
buyers. They have better financeability. They can get bigger loan. Their monthlies go down. Nobody wants to just pay interest all day long. And sellers, it opens up, more buyers to their house. But unfortunately, that will lead to more competition
I see.
for buyers. So I don't think the interest rates having gone up really affected much. We didn't see the prices come down. So with that 1% drop, um, it's going to pull some people off the sidelines, but they're not on the sidelines because of the
Right.
lack of affordability. They're on the sidelines because they perhaps think interest rates will come back down into the threes and fours, which was an anomaly.
Of
But
course, yes.
so I'll share one thing, one graph, which I think pretty much tells the story of Westchester. Let me just see if I can figure out how to. Am I allowed to share? I can, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so let me just share. Hold on 1 second here. What house is on market? Just give me 1 second. It's not. Like, or I'm gonna have to share this and then stop share really quick and try this again. Okay, so I think what everyone has to understand about Westchester is that um, I don't know how well this is going to come across on the screen, but
Yeah, I can see it good. Yeah.
so right where it starts to drop, this graph starts to drop is the beginning of the pandemic. So as you can see, we had this very, very normal cycles
Of course. Yeah.
throughout the year,
Seasonal. Yeah.
5, 6 years heading into to pre-pandemic, and usually the peak of the market of inventory tends to be in June and July. That's when everyone's throwing their houses on the
Same
market.
here. Yes. Same here.
Best curb appeal. And then you could see it got a little weird that we didn't really have those peaks and valleys so regularly, but you could just see the inventory just started to drop. And the reason the inventory was dropping was not
Yeah.
because new homes weren't coming on. It was because people kept buying everything. Do you know what I mean? So this is active homes for sale at the end of the month. That's what this graph is. And it wasn't that in the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was just buying. They were buying things faster than they were coming on, so it was pushing it down. And right now we're at, I use this in my market report sometimes.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go and look at every single family home on December 1st back in 2018, I could have seen over 4,000 homes.
Right. And now it's 4 times
Now
less
you can
than then.
see
Yeah.
800 or so. It's a imagine going to a Ford dealership and there's supposed to be 1,000 cars on the lot, and now there's 250, and there's a big giant parking lot. So
Right.
that's kind of the atmosphere, and it's forcing buyers to be very to think outside of the box, look at houses that need work.
Mhm.
The things that they can control. Maybe it's not the exact style they wanted. Maybe it's missing a bedroom, or maybe it's a cape and they're going to do an addition. Lots of different things. So it's a very
Right.
hard market but this is where we're at right now. And unfortunately, there is no sign of it going back up. And I have my theories, but I think the
Mhm.
main theory is that the older homeowners, in the 70s and 80s, they either don't have a mortgage and they don't know where to go, or they have some sort of mortgage and it's rock bottom percentage and they simply
Right.
don't want to leave that. So that's kind of once that starts to loosen up, all of these younger Gen Z millennials, those houses will open up for them and we will get to a more normalized market. But I think, Eugene, I think that's like another 4 to 5 years of what we're
Right. So we're in this strong sellers market for quite a long time now.
it's purely supply and demand. It's low inventory
Mhm.
for the serious demand, which there always will be because we're an hour away from one of the most desirable cities in the world, and in employment hubs in the world.
Mhm.
There will always be demand for people they're just getting married, they're having kids, they're looking at these school districts, and unfortunately, there's only 4 houses on the market in the school district, and
Right.
they have to fight over the least worst.
Right.
And it's unfortunate, but it's
It is what it is,
where we
right?
are in the world right
Yeah.
now, and it's you can always renovate and take advantage of different markets when they come, but you
Mhm.
can't change the fact of what's happening economically.
I see. I got you. So it obviously it brings probably to bidding wars right now.
Yeah, I would say any house that is appropriately priced that you can move into is
Mhm.
probably getting bidding wars. Now, if there's something off, it's on a very busy road, it's in a weird flood area, something
Right.
like that. But if it's all things considered, just checks the normal boxes,
Yeah.
we are still seeing multiple offers, 3 offers, 4 offers. I mean, not 25 offers,
Right.
but
But
that's
still,
because prices have come up and interest rates have gone up. So there's less buyers, but it's still those same. It's funny, I told my mortgage broker, maybe 2 months ago. It's like the market, like there's not really, yes, there's less buyers on the market, but it's the same 3 or 4 buyers for every house, and that were there 3 years ago,
yeah.
winning the bids 3 years ago. It's just there's not the 15 people behind them that are trying to make their way into the market. It's always,
Right.
so the serious people are still there.
I got you.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay. So let's get to I guess, to the main point. What is the most famous, the most popular type of property that you
Yeah. I mean,
sell?
look, Westchester
And
has
by
enough.
the way, how much would that cost also?
Sure. I mean, look, $1 million is kind of what you need, in my opinion, to get into the kind of middle of the market. Could you spend 6? Absolutely. There's multi-acre properties with tennis courts and in-ground pools and guest houses in Bedford. You could
Right.
spend 6 million. You can move to Scarsdale, where the average is 2.5 million, because it is probably one of the highest net worth, best school districts in the country. But I would say most buyers, if they can somewhere be between 8 and $1.3 million,
Mhm.
they're going to see the bulk of the market, and
Mhm.
they're just going to feel like they're buying a comfortable house.
What
Normal
what kind of house would
homes.
that be? What kind of what's the property size? What's the square
Yeah,
footage? Give me the
you,
ballpark.
the thing about it is the all of the townships here are very diverse. They all have very different zoning.
Mhm.
I guess that's another difference between Manhattan is
Yeah.
it's not the Kings County building department. It is the village building department, and there's like
Right.
50 of them. So
Wow.
so every town has a little bit different zoning, a little bit different vibe. But I would say the farther north you come, you get closer to being able to get an acre plus.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's a half acre or something like that, especially if you're closer to 287, closer to like Pleasantville, like, and Briarcliff area. But
Mhm.
there's always larger properties. So we're not like Long Island. We're not on top of each other.
Mhm.
100%. Maybe the tighter
Mhm.
parts of White Plains, but we're not like house, 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 house. You know,
Right.
the only thing between my house and your house, Eugene, is a driveway. Like it's
Right.
very rare, unless you're in the heart of the village, that you
Good
find
point.
that.
Good point. Good point.
Um,
What about the taxes?
Taxes, that's another thing that buyers have to be very, very careful about navigating, because we have these, when you look at a map of Westchester,
Mhm.
you have lines for the school districts, you have
Mhm.
lines for the towns, what they're called, and
Mhm.
then you
Mhm.
have lines for the tax,
Wow.
where they're being taxed, and they overlap. It's a complete utter mess. So you have to be very careful.
Mhm.
I would say the towns, the middle of it would be, if you want to buy $1 million home,
Mhm.
you probably need to budget about 20,000 a year.
Taxes.
If you're
Only in
paying
tax.
$20,000 a year on a $1 million home, chances are you're in a very high ranked school district. You have all the bells and whistles, all the amenities, municipal trash, sewer, all that stuff. There's a rec
Mhm.
center, they maybe a town pool. So
Mhm.
that's about right. And then, that's kind of the percentage. Now, again, you have to be careful. There's anomalies. You build a brand new house, it ain't going to
Mhm.
be 20,000. Like they're going to
Mhm.
tax you through the roof. And there's some towns that retax every year. So it's
Mhm.
very taxing. Property tax in Westchester is a very sticky, hard thing to navigate. And I highly recommend, even if you've bought and sold before, you
Mhm.
want to use an agent that knows that knows what they're talking about with this stuff. Because if you go right to a listing agent, they could just nonchalantly say, "Oh no, the taxes are not going to go up. They don't go up in this town," and
Mhm.
you have no idea, and they could go up 30% in a
Okay.
year.
So good thing that you mentioned that. So let me ask you this. You as a real estate agent, do you have access to that information or in order to
Oh
get
yeah.
taxes? So you have it.
So we have to do our due diligence. When we have buyers, especially with buyers, like we'll go and verify taxes. So we'll call the tax assessor's office, and we know how those each town operates. Is it going to be
Mhm.
reassessed every year? And then I also have business partners that will, for free, do an analysis quickly of, okay, this house is undertaxed. You could grieve it, which is also, we can also help some of our buyers actually get into a deal knowing very
Right.
well it's overtaxed and they're going to
Mhm.
get the taxes down. And the listing agent just never did their homework.
Mhm.
So there's two sides of the coin, but
Right.
yes, it's super important. I mean, look, it is what it is. Everybody pays taxes, but um, in my opinion, if a house is overtaxed, it's devaluing the house.
Mhm.
The house is going to be worth less. It's important, even if you can afford the taxes, it's just important to know what's happening to your asset.
I got you. Okay. Look, it all looks so interesting, and I think we could go more and more details, but it's gonna take forever, and it will never. I mean, you'll know so much. So I guess my advice to everybody is to use contact information under this
Sure.
video and get in touch with Jeff directly, and he will take care of you. I have absolutely no doubt about that.
Yeah,
But
I would
Mhm.
say just some light advice to anyone thinking about moving up here,
Mhm.
especially if you have kids. I would
Mhm.
Now, I can't really give you my opinion of school districts, but I
Mhm.
would start by, which are the school districts we are considering. You can almost run your search off that. You
Mhm.
can do some town exploring,
Mhm.
look where the trains are, and then decide, do you want to be a little more tight, a little closer to the train, or do you want a little more space and that extra drive to the train, or do you not need the train at all? So,
Okay.
that's kind of the core things, and you can go from there. All the towns are wonderful up here.
Mhm.
They're different. And all the school districts are wonderful. They're different.
Mhm.
Some are more academic, some are more sports driven, some are really
Right.
small, some are really large. So that's kind of how you navigate.
Let me ask you this. Do you have like a set of links that you can provide for people interested in this area to help them navigate? I don't know,
Oh,
schools,
sure.
maybe something else. So we can put these links also under this video. And
Yeah, on my website, lowerhudsonvalleyhomes.com, there's a top line
mhm.
drop
Okay,
down.
great. So it's already in place.
So absolutely. And
Mhm.
if anybody ever wants stats on them, I'm always happy to provide, and it's yeah, I mean, hopefully we have some new inventory in the new year, so it
Yeah,
makes it
of
a little.
course. Before I let you go, is there anything you want to add to that? I don't know, maybe some advice or maybe like mistakes to avoid for the buyers interested in maybe not maybe if they don't even know yet that they want to move to Westchester, but people who want to move out of town to, you know,
I mean, I would just say,
from your experience, what you
what my
learned?
experience,
Yes.
what I think is there are a lot of buyers that maybe have a misconception of how trendy the houses are in Westchester, and maybe a misconception of how up to date they are. We do have a very aging housing stock, and I just encourage buyers to look. This is going. You're probably going to have to buy a house unless you want to pay top dollar, and you just want something fresh and new and brand new, and you're willing to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
Home ownership up here, be prepared for, probably doing a new kitchen, and maybe in 2 years doing the master bathroom, and maybe changing the color and doing some landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
It's not apartment. What's the Remodelista, or what's the famous apartment website? Anyways, but it's not, not all the houses up here. The bread and butter houses are straight out of Architectural Digest. So you have to come up, and some of them look like they are now, and they weren't 3 years ago, before and after. So anyway, so just come up here with an open mind, and sort of a spirit of, let's find a house that has good bones, and let's really make it something we love. And it's easy to do that. So
okay, and you obviously, do you have professionals like trades? So you have people to help with that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. We see, this is why we love working with you. You know everything and everybody. Thank you. Listen, thank you so much for your time, for your insights. And again, guys, everybody, Jeff's contact information connected here to this video. If you want to know what's happening in Brooklyn, I'm your agent. I'm local here. And Jeff is your man in Westchester. And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Jeff. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.